Chris Watts has decided he is not to blame for what happened to Shanann and to Bella and to Celeste and his unborn son. Nope. The women in his life are to blame. The Daily Mail just got its hands on some letters written by Watts at the Dodge Correctional Institute. That is a maximum security prison in central Wisconsin, where he was sent, and he has been there for the last 6 years. The letters show a man determined to find anyone but himself responsible for his diabolical behavior. He actually addressed his letters to God, zip code unknown. And he first unloads on his mistress, Nicole Kessinger, writing this: I was misled. I was tempted by a harlot. I was weak, and I allowed myself to be fooled by an evil woman. She led me from the path of righteousness. I know that you will deal with her someday. She will be judged. You know my heart, Lord. I am a man after your heart. I seek your face. I allowed her to sway me. FYI, Nicole Kessinger told the police that she was dating a man who told her that he was separated and divorcing. But then when his wife and children disappeared, she got very scared and she called the police immediately, leading to his arrest. But Watts doesn't stop with Nicole Kessinger. No, no, no. He unloads on other women, too, mostly unnamed women, calling them harlots and Jezebels and whores. And, of course, he blames his pregnant wife for being domineering and self-absorbed, suggesting that she caused her own death. I think I just threw up in my mouth. What is weird is that he doesn't seem to have it in for all women, because plenty of his letters are addressed to female pen pals. And get this, he seems to be looking for a new wife. My next guest broke this story. Steve Helling is a senior reporter with the Daily Mail. He is top-notch in true crime. He's a friend of the show, and he's a good friend of mine. Steve, I should have called you for a drink before you came on the air, as opposed to going for drinks after work, because I couldn't unclench my teeth while reading your piece. So just start with what else you've got on what he writes about women.
I should have warned you, first of all. Let's start there.
Yeah.
You know, I got my hands on these letters. You know, I've seen a lot of his letters. I know his handwriting. I know his writing style. And the thing about Chris Watts is that he couches everything that he writes in this spiritual Christianity type of thing that isn't like any Christianity that I know, that basically he doesn't take personal responsibility. He was always tempted. He was always weak. Somebody was always pulling him aside, and that somebody was always a woman. You know, she was a whore. She was a harlot. You know, she tempted me with her soft words and with her lips. It makes me think, can you take any responsibility whatsoever for what you did? And it seems like you can't.
Turns out no. Yeah, so he says in a letter that you got your hands on, quote, the lips of an immoral woman may be smooth, but no amount of paint on her face can disguise her evil heart. So now I guess it's the makeup's fault for what he did. But he doesn't seem to hate all women. He seems to really want a new one. What is the story about the search for a wife? Is there anybody who's actually interested?
Well, I mean, we see this all the time. You know, Chris Watts is not a bad-looking person. And, you know, there's always going to be somebody who's interested in him. And so there are women that write to him, and he writes back. You know, he's actually very good at corresponding. And of course, you know, a lot of the times he's just talking about, you know, it's a lot of spiritual stuff that he talks about, a lot of Christianity, a lot of God, a lot of Jesus. But then, you know, he'll sometimes talk about himself and be like, you know, I'm misunderstood. And, you know, I was a good father. I was a good person until something happened. But I'm still a good person. So, you know, it's interesting what he'll say to these women. And, you know, a lot of these women, they do fall for it. They do think, well, maybe he's changed. Maybe he's a better person than I thought he was.
I want to pop that piece back up there. We just had it up on the screen, but I want to read it. It was this business about being a good person. I'm barfing in my mouth. He says, I was a good husband and father. Things happened. Things happened. And I am no longer a good husband and father, but I am still a good man. Is this something he wrote to someone in particular, trying to convince her that he'd be her knight in shining armor?
He wrote this to a woman. And, I really, when I read it, I thought, things happen. I mean, things happen like, like it starts to rain. That's something that happens. What doesn't generally just happen is that you strangle your wife, smother your children, and bury their bodies in an oil field. That's not something just happening. So it just kind of shows, even his choice of words, that none of this is his fault. He didn't do anything. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, boy, I'll say. He doesn't even acknowledge.
November 19th, 2018. The courtroom in Weld County, Colorado was quiet in a way that felt unnatural. Not respectful, not calm, unnatural. Families sat rigid. Reporters leaned forward with pens hovering above paper. The air felt heavy, like something already decided but not yet spoken aloud. At the front of the room stood Chris Watts. He wore a suit that did not quite fit the weight of what he had done. His hands were still. His face was blank. He did not look at the gallery for long. Then the judge spoke. 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. 3 consecutive, 2 additional, plus decades more for unlawful termination of a pregnancy and tampering with a body. The gavel came down once, sharp, final, echoing. For most people, a gavel signals the end of something. For him, it marked the beginning. No appeals clock that could realistically free him. No parole board 20 years down the road. No release date circled in red ink. Just time. Endless, unbroken time. Death would have been easier. That sounds cruel to say, but stay with me. Execution is finite. It has a date, a procedure, an ending. However brutal, it concludes. Life without parole does not conclude. It stretches, it corrodes, it lingers. And in December 2025, as we record this, Chris Watts remains exactly where that gavel left him. Alive, aging, and buried inside a system that will never open its doors for him again. But here's the part most people don't understand. His sentence is not just about bars and razor wire. It is about erasure. I want to welcome you back to the channel. We investigate the cases the world tried to forget, looking for the truth in the spaces between the headlines. If you find value in these deep dives, please subscribe and join our community of investigators. And as we begin, tell us where you are watching from today, whether it's the United States, Canada, Australia, or beyond. Leave a comment below. We read every single one. Now let's go back. August 13th, 2018, Frederick, Colorado. Early morning. A pregnant woman. She does not leave alive. By mid-afternoon, her husband stands in front of cameras, asking for her safe return. He looks controlled, almost rehearsed. The crime itself was not chaotic in the way many murders are. There were no neighbors reporting gunshots, no shattered windows, no frantic 911 call. It was quiet.
Both of our families are back in North Carolina, so they're beside themselves. Like, we all have friends in North Carolina. We have friends here. We have friends everywhere. And not knowing like where she is or where the kids are, I don't know what to do right now. I just feel so alone in this house right now, and I don't know where to go from here right now.
And you said you had to stay here by yourself last night. When I opened the door, it's like you're almost like.
I mean, my heart's racing a mile a minute. I mean, just everything that's happening the last few days. It's earth-shattering right now. It's like my world's been turned upside down. Like, I have friends that have offered to I didn't feel like I should have left last night, like just in case, like maybe she came back, maybe the kids came back, maybe something happened, maybe there's a knock on the door. I wanted to be here. I didn't think last night was a good time to stay with anybody else, or, I mean, I want friends to be here with me because that just makes me feel better.
And how do you think the police have responded so far?
It's been amazing. They've been in constant contact. Frederick Police Department, detectives, officers, sergeants. They have the dogs coming through to get scents. I mean, they've been on top of everything, missing persons reports, everything's been, they've been.
Do you have any idea where she could be?
She said she was going to a friend's house with the kids, and that's the last thing I heard, and that was it. It was very vague, and it was very, I don't have no inclination of where she is. Every friend that I've called that has a car seat that that could have come and got her,
And you saw her yesterday morning?
Yeah, I saw her yesterday morning. She got back from the airport, and she has to be somewhere. In my heart, I believe that she is somewhere, and I hope that she is safe.
Search dog go in your house right now to get a scent. A line of police cars.
I'm so happy that they're here right now doing everything that they can. It scares the living crap out of me right now, just knowing that it's come to this and that she didn't come home last night with the kids. Like, Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, if you're out there, please, just come home.
And you, yesterday, when her friends were calling frantic, something in you said, well, she'll just be home.
Yeah, it wasn't like her not to answer a phone call or a text. And when her friend Nicole showed up at the door, I was just like, all right, something's up. And I came home, and it was like I walked into a ghost town. Like, everything, she wasn't here, kids weren't here. It was just, they were here, and then they were gone.
Yeah. And did you see the kids in the morning, too?
Just in the monitor.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And you leave really early.
Mm-hmm.
Inside that home, Shanann Watts was strangled. Her daughters Bella and Celeste were smothered. Their bodies were transported to an oil field owned by Anadarko Petroleum, where Chris Watts worked. He buried his wife in a shallow grave. He placed his daughters inside oil tanks. Let that sink in. Not in a rage-filled frenzy, not in an impulsive burst, but with deliberation. He drove to work afterward, texted coworkers, checked email, maintained routine. There is something chilling about violence that folds itself into normalcy. When investigators later confronted him, his composure fractured slowly. First denial, then deflection, then partial confession, eventually admission. But even then, the motive felt thin. An affair with Nicole Kessinger, financial strain, a desire for a fresh start. Fresh start, 2 words that cost 4 lives. Now, in hindsight, people search for missed red flags. Did friends notice emotional withdrawal? Yes. Did Shanann express concern about his distance? Yes. Did anyone predict annihilation? No, because the red flags were subtle. He was not explosive. He was avoidant. He did not shout. He shut down. He did not threaten. He fantasized. In the months before the murders, he had begun building an alternate life in his head, one without debt, without responsibility, without bedtime routines and doctor's appointments and mortgage payments, an imagined world that felt lighter. And when fantasy collides with reality, there are only 2 choices: abandon the fantasy or eliminate the obstacle. He chose elimination. Now we arrive at the question that unsettles people. Was he fundamentally incapable of change? Or was he shaped by pressure, debt, marital strain, identity confusion? Psychological experts who have reviewed the case often avoid dramatic labels. He did not present as overtly psychotic. There was no evidence of a break from reality. He appeared emotionally detached, conflict avoidant, internally resentful, but externally compliant. That combination can be dangerous because resentment, when never expressed, does not disappear. It calcifies. And when someone believes they are trapped, financially, emotionally, socially, the desire for escape can override moral boundaries. But here is the line we must draw clearly. Pressure explains behavior. It does not excuse it. Millions face debt. Millions experience marital dissatisfaction. Millions fantasize about different lives. They do not murder their children. So we return to the gavel. 5 life sentences. Transferred first within Colorado, then moved for safety reasons to double doors. Institutional light that never feels natural. From there, he was assigned to a high-security unit in a Wisconsin prison known for housing inmates convicted of serious crimes. Now, December 2025. 7 years have passed since the sentencing, 7 Christmases, 7 birthdays, 7 years of watching time move forward without him. Let's talk about what that actually means. Most people hear life without parole and imagine monotony. They imagine boredom. They imagine routine. But they do not imagine erasure. Was 33 years old at the time of the murders. In 20 years, he will be in his mid-50s. In 40 years, if he lives that long, he will be in his 70s. He will age entirely inside concrete. He will never attend a wedding, never walk into a grocery store alone, never sit in a car with the windows down, never feel rain without permission, never choose what to eat, never decide when the lights go off. Stay with me. He wakes when the system wakes him. Lights on before dawn, count at regular intervals. Meals through a tray or in a controlled cafeteria, depending on housing status. The cell. Approximately the size of a parking space. Concrete walls, steel door, a narrow bed bolted to the frame, thin mattress, stainless steel sink, combination toilet, and the metal slot. That small opening in the door where food trays slide through, where hands extend for handcuffs, where communication is reduced to inches. No hope, no second chances, just concrete. Prison is not cinematic violence every hour. It is repetition. Wake up, count, eat, wait, count again. Limited recreation, back to the cell, lock-in. Days blur, weeks dissolve. Holidays mean nothing except thinner staffing and slightly altered schedules.
Okay. Pop up a seat.
Mommy!
Pop up to my nose hair. Are you ready?
Yeah, go!
Set.
Go!
Oh, you're hanging off. That way. Easy. Oh.
Don't you do it.
All right. Oh, what are you doing? Seatbelt?
Hang on, dog. Cece.
Oh! Pull my pants down, kid. You think I'm Man of Steel or something? Hey, hold on.
Get down. Get all down.
Here, Cece. Cece, you want to do it again? Yeah. Okay. Watch your toes.
Get my
Give me the phone, Cece. I got the phone.
Try to balance yourself out a little more, kiddo.
Don't jump.
But here is the part most people don't understand. Inmates like Chris Watts occupy a specific social space inside prison. Crimes against children carry a stigma even among convicted murderers. There is a hierarchy. At the bottom are those who harm children. They are often isolated for their own safety, not out of compassion, out of necessity. General population can be dangerous territory, so protection becomes confinement. Confinement becomes deeper isolation. Isolation becomes psychological erosion. Letters arrive occasionally. Media requests filter through. Some people write out of morbid curiosity, some out of misplaced fascination. But the world he once moved through freely continues without him. Social media trends change. Technology evolves. His peers advance in careers. Children he once knew grow up. He remains static, frozen at the point of his worst decision. Meanwhile, the milestones he erased from others never happen at all. Bella never becomes a teenager. Celeste never learns to drive. Nico never takes his first breath outside the womb. Shanann never rebuilds. The contrast is brutal. He ages. They do not. Let that sink in. Inside prison, aging is visible in small ways. Hair grays, posture shifts, skin thins under fluorescent lights. But there are no meaningful markers of achievement, no promotions, no anniversaries celebrated freely. Time becomes something endured, not lived. And yet there is no sympathy here, None. The pain of the victims and their families eclipses any discomfort he experiences behind bars. This is not a defense. It is an examination. Because the question lingers, is life without parole a more civilized punishment, or is it a living death? Execution ends a life quickly. It is irreversible, absolute, controversial. Life without parole extends punishment across decades. It demands continuous existence under restriction. Some argue it is merciful. Others argue it is more severe. For Chris Watts, execution would have been a single date. Instead, he faces thousands of mornings identical to the last. He cannot undo what he did. He cannot earn release. He cannot meaningfully rebuild reputation. He can only exist. And existence, in that context, becomes its own sentence. But let's step deeper into the walls. Maximum security housing is structured for control. Movement is escorted. Schedules are rigid. Communication is monitored. Phone calls are limited and recorded. Visits are screened, often behind glass. Imagine speaking to someone you care about through a phone pressed to thick plexiglass, correctional officers standing within earshot. Now imagine knowing that conversation will end and you will return to a concrete box alone. Over time, that rhythm reshapes a person, not necessarily into remorse, sometimes into numbness. There have been no successful appeals overturning his conviction as of December 2025. No new trial granted, no credible pathway to freedom. His legal chapter is closed, which leaves only the daily one: wake, count, eat, wait. The human mind craves progression, goals, future events, anticipation. Life without parole eliminates forward narrative. There is no when I get out. There is only if I survive. Stay with me, because this is where the concept of a living death becomes real. He will witness correctional officers retire. He will watch younger inmates arrive and grow older. He will see the prison population change. He will remain. And every year, on August 13th, the date will return. Anniversary of annihilation. For the victims' families, it is a wound reopened. For him, it is a reminder that the world defines him by that morning. He is not a father in prison. He is a father who killed his children. That identity does not soften. It calcifies. Inside the hierarchy of inmates, notoriety can be double-edged. Some prisoners seek status through violence or affiliation. But child killers are rarely celebrated. They are tolerated under supervision, sometimes segregated, sometimes quietly despised. So while the public imagines dramatic confrontations, the more common reality is something quieter: avoidance, isolation, stares, whispers, time. If you've stayed with me this far, you aren't just a casual viewer, you're an investigator. We are building a community of people who refuse to let these stories fade into the concrete. Hit that subscribe button and join our ranks. Help us grow this circle of voices so we can bring more light to these forgotten halls. Now let's look at the evidence they didn't want you to see. The evidence is not hidden in secret files. It is in the math of time. He was 33 at sentencing. If he lives to 80, that is nearly half a century inside prison. Half a century of institutional meals, half a century of fluorescent mornings, half a century without agency. And yet, he will still wake up. That is the paradox. The death penalty would have removed him from the timeline. Life without parole forces him to experience every second of it. There is no early release for good behavior, no earned credit toward freedom, only survival. In interviews conducted after his incarceration, he has expressed remorse, claimed spiritual awakening, attempted to explain what he calls a darkness that took over. But explanations do not restore trust, and prison does not erase public memory. Documentaries revisit the case, podcasts analyze it, his name resurfaces every year. He cannot escape the narrative. He is confined physically and historically. And as we approach the end of 2025, the question remains unsettled. What is justice supposed to accomplish? Retribution, deterrence, closure, or containment? Chris Watts is contained. He will never walk free again. The walls are thick, the doors are steel, the schedule is fixed. But justice is not only about him. It is about the message sent. That annihilation of a family for convenience will be met with permanent removal from society. No negotiation, no second act, just concrete. In the next chapter of this examination, we will go even deeper into the psychological toll of decades behind bars, the internal hierarchies of long-term inmates, and the uncomfortable philosophical debate about whether endless confinement is mercy or cruelty. The case of Chris Watts is just one file in a very dark cabinet. In our next video, I'm opening the vault on a story even more chilling than this one. If you aren't subscribed, you're going to miss the update that changes the way you look at the justice system forever. Don't get left outside the walls. Join us, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.